Welcome back to Mind Sense, where we explore how the mind works and use psychology to live better. Today, I want to talk about a hidden cause of stress in our lives, our need to control. That frustration when things don't go your way, when people don't behave the way you think they should. You end up constantly fixing things because it feels like no one does it right. You might even see yourself as someone who just has a high standards, someone who wants things to be right. But deep down, you struggle when things don't go according to plan. And you keep replaying situations in your mind, trying to regain that sense of control. Or maybe you are on the other side of it, feeling tired of being constantly pushed, corrected, or told what to do. It feels like no matter what you do, it's never enough or never right. And slowly that pressure starts to feel suffocating. So this episode is both those sides. It's about understanding why we feel this need to control in the first place, why it creates tension in relationships, and what we can actually do about it. Whether we are the ones trying to control or the ones dealing with someone who is controlling. Because let's face it, to some extent, everyone needs to have some sense of control over their lives. This is a natural human desire. Control gives a feeling of order, stability, and safety. But what if this need for control goes too far? What happens when a person's desire for control is so strong that it starts to negatively affect relationships and threatens other person's sense of freedom? Now, people with control issues can pop up throughout any area of your life, from parents to siblings, bosses and co-workers to friends and relatives. Just to clarify, this isn't referring to a situation where someone's need for control turns into abusive power. In such cases, the safest and the most appropriate step is to reach out for help and break free from that cycle. Here, when we talk about control freaks, we mean people who are generally close to you and care about you and have good intentions overall, but tend to be overly particular or rigid about how things should be done. Control doesn't always look obvious. Sometimes it appears as constant advice you never asked for. Sometimes it shows up as subtle criticism, and other times it looks like someone trying to decide what you should do, how you should behave, or even how you should think. They often bring a kind of subtle toxicity that's very hard to deal with. In many cases, you can't simply remove them from your life because of the kind of relationship you are very close to them. So you need to learn how to handle their behavior in a thoughtful and balanced way. Let us begin with the more uncomfortable side of this conversation. What if you are the one who feels the need to control? This is not easy to admit because from the inside it never feels like control. It feels like responsibility. It feels like care. It feels like you are just trying to make sure things don't go wrong. You might feel irritated when people don't take your advice. You might feel anxious when things don't go according to your plan. You might even feel like nobody listens to you and that everything is slowly going out of control. But if you look closely, there is a pattern. You feel a strong urge to correct, guide, or influence how others behave. And when they don't respond the way you expect, it affects your mood more than it should. Psychologically, this usually has very little to do with the other person. And it has everything to do with what is happening inside you. And the sense of control, which gives us stability and safety, also gives a kind of predictability which helps our mind relax. But when things feel uncertain, our mind becomes very restless and anxious. And in some people, it's more so than others. And this is where the problem begins. When your mind cannot control uncertainty, it tries to control people and situation around you. For example, think about a parent constantly pushing their child to choose a safe career, On the surface, it looks like guidance, it looks like experience, but underneath, there is fear. Fear that the child might struggle or fail in life. Fear that things might go wrong and child may suffer. Now, instead of sitting with that uncertainty, the mind tries to eliminate it by controlling the decision. In relationships too, the same pattern shows up differently. One partner might constantly question the other and want updates or try to influence their choices. It may look like care or possessiveness, but often it is insecurity or fear of losing the relationship. In family setup, it can show up as constant advice, criticism, or emotional pressure. Statements like, "I'm just saying this for your good," often carry an underlying need for control, even if the intention is not harmful. The important thing is to understand that control is often a response to internal discomfort. It can come from anxiety where uncertainty feels unbearable. It can come from past experiences where someone once felt powerless and now overcompensates by trying to control everything. It can even come from low self-confidence where controlling situations give a temporary sense of importance. But here is where it becomes a problem. The more you try to control everything, the more your mind starts believing that things must be controlled for you to feel okay. And that creates a cycle. You try harder, people resist. You feel more frustrated, and then you try to control even more. Over time, this leads to a deeper feeling of helplessness, even though you are trying so hard to feel in control. This is why many people who have a strong need for control often feel like nobody listens to them or that things are always going wrong. What they are actually experiencing is not a lack of control over others, but a lack of control over their own internal state. So the real shift begins when you stop asking, "How do I control people better?" and start asking, "Why do I feel the need to control at all?" When you begin to reflect on this, you start noticing your triggers. You notice how uncomfortable uncertainty makes you feel. You notice how quickly your mind jumps to fixing or correcting others. And slowly you begin to understand that control is not solving your discomfort. It is just temporarily distracting you from it. At this point, a different approach becomes necessary. Instead of trying to control everything outside, you begin to regulate what is inside. This means learning to pause when you feel the urge to interfere. It means allowing people to make their own choices, even when you disagree. It means accepting that not everything will go according to your expectations, and that is okay. This is not easy, especially in close relationships, because emotions are involved. But it is necessary if you want to experience peace. Now, let us look at the other side. What if you are the one dealing with someone who is controlling? This can be even more difficult because you are just dealing with your own emotions. You are dealing with someone else's behavior, and often that person is someone close to you. It could be a parent who's constantly questioning your decisions, and it could be a partner who tries to influence how you behave. It could be a family member who always has an opinion about your life. And the challenging part is that you cannot always walk away from these relationships. The first thing to understand here is that behind most controlling behavior, there is fear. It could be fear of losing you, fear of being alone, fear of things going wrong, or fear of not being respected. Understanding this does not mean you accept the behavior, but it helps you respond with clarity instead of just reacting emotionally. When you see control as a form of anxiety rather than just dominance, your approach changes. Instead of reacting with anger, you can communicate more effectively. You can express how their behavior makes you feel without turning it into an argument. Simple statements like, "I feel uncomfortable when I'm constantly told what to do," can create more understanding than blaming or accusing. At the same time, it is important to set boundaries. You cannot control how someone behaves, but you can control how much access they have to your decisions, your time, and your emotional energy. This might mean saying no to certain expectations, limiting how much you share, or choosing not to engage in certain conversations. Another important aspect is choosing your battles. Not every situation needs to become a confrontation. Sometimes letting small things go can protect your energy. But at the same time, constantly suppressing your feelings can lead to resentment. So it's important to find a balance between standing your ground and maintaining peace. In some cases, especially when the behavior becomes emotionally exhausting, creating distance may be necessary. This does not always mean cutting someone off completely, but it may mean reducing how much their behavior affects your mental state. At this point, whether you relate more to being the one who controls or the one who feels being controlled, there is one deeper truth that connects both sides. Control is an attempt to fix internal discomfort using external people. And that approach will always fail in the long run because people are unpredictable. They have their own thoughts, their own fears, and their own ways of seeing the world. And that's the right way it should be. No matter how much you try, you cannot fully control them. But what you can control is how you respond. You can control how you interpret situations. You can control how much you let things affect you. And you can control the boundaries you set. And when you start focusing on that, something interesting happens. You begin to feel lighter. You stop over-analyzing every interaction. You stop taking everything personally. And you stop feeling responsible for everyone else's behavior. And slowly, your relationships start changing as well. Because when people feel less controlled, they feel more comfortable being themselves around you. And when they feel comfortable, connections improve naturally. Maybe peace in relationships does not come from fixing people. Maybe it comes from allowing them. Allowing your parents to have their own perspective, even if you disagree. Allowing your partner to be imperfect just like you are. And allowing your children to learn from their own experiences instead of trying to protect them from every mistake. Because in the end, the moment you stop trying to control everything around you, you stop fighting the reality. And when you stop fighting the reality, you finally start feeling at peace. That's it for today. Hope you remember these points when next time you are stuck in an out of control situation. Don't forget to subscribe to Mindsense for more such contents. Till then, take care and keep growing.